Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you with another Age of Sigmar video. In this episode, we are going to be finishing. This is our part two of our Cities of Sigmar leak review. We're going to be going over the core battalion here. We had just finished the rules with the battle tactics and grand strategies and things and the sub factions. And it's a very good book, ladies and gentlemen. Very good book. Let's just jump right in here because we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do the Warscrolls. And our core battalion is called the Castellite Formation, which is just really on theme here. Again, the whole point of this was the cities fought this one battle where they were trying to make a new settlement. Uh, the new type of orc, the Cruel Boys, jumped them. They had to make ramshackle defenses out of the building materials of the new settlement and use it as like a rolling line of fortifications where they'd fight off the orcs and move all their portable walls up and fight them off again. And the cities went, hey, let's just standardize that. And the generals went, no, that's stupid. But the higher ups, including Sigmar, said, nah, we're doing this. I don't care that it's not that flexible. It works. So what we have here is this watchtower, 3 units of battlements, which are Fusiliers, the new handgunners, or the Stillhelms, the new Fregal Guard replacement. And again, the Fusiliers are the handgunner slash crossbowman replacement for the humans. A cannon, because we finally have real artillery. And also, this watchtower is a Fusil Major on Ogre Warhulk. Now, it's a cool model. It is a guy in a watchtower on top of the back of an ogre, shouting commands and shooting people, like the old Empire engineer kind of was like way back in the day with their sniper rifle. What this gives you is it is a one drop, and you get the Slayer ability of once per battle. One unit from this battalion can receive the all-out attack or unleash hell without a command point being spent and without the command point or without the command being issued. So you get a free unleash hell. And with wording like that, because it's not issued, technically you could do it and issue it and spend a command point for another unit. You need 3 units of these battlements, which are stuff you're going to take anyway. A cannon, which is it's good. Maybe not the best, but it's good. And this Fusil Major on Ogre Warhawk, which is probably the tax of this, but it has a cool ability we'll talk about in a little bit. Overall, your 3 battle line units, a hero you're probably taking, and an artillery piece that there's a chance you're taking too. Yeah, this is useful. We're going to start off with Thalia Vedra, the new named hero, the Manticore Mommy, as some have called her. She is a badass former mercenary captain. Now she is the premier beatstick out of Hammerhall Aksha, tied to the sub faction. She gets her own monstrous rampage. We're on a 3-up. You get the strike last effect applying to enemy monsters. She kills monsters really good. It's nice. Comes with a 6-up ward save, 15 wounds, 4-up regular save, 8 bravery. Starts off at 14 inches of moves. Got a good bracketing table here. The to-hit character, again, like overall, having the damage from the Stinger be D3 plus 3 at top bracket. Her damage is going to be a lot more consistent than you think it is. And there's a command where if you charge it and you haven't fought yet to give extra attacks on all your profiles, it's like a once per game to that unit. Giving herself that order and being from Hammerall Aksha, if you also gave her the counter charge order to set herself up, she could wreck some people by accident. It's nice. The weapons of office, it's only neg 1 rend 2 damage. The mount with the jaws and the stinger is really what we're here for. She's a good beat stick. The ward of the 6-up, little meh, but it's useful. Her abilities, though, because she's a good fighter, right? Her abilities that really make you want to take her and ignore the you wish it was a 3-up armor save, but it's really a 4-up, is lead from the front here, which is while this unit is in combat with enemy units, friendly Cities of Sigmar human units that are within 3 inches of enemy units can issue the rally command. In addition, when it does so, you can return slain models on a 4-up instead of a 6. If you want never-ending hordes of cities units returning 10 wounds at a time because that's the cap, or if you want to return like the new cavalry models, so you brought a unit to 10, if they're rallying on a 4-up here, you lost 5 of them, you want them all back. This is value here. The hope is she kills enough stuff for her points and rallies stuff back. She also is able to give out 2 orders instead of 1 when she's in a Cities of Sigmar army. That's just in general. Yeah, she's great. Paralyzing Venom is really nice to help out against monsters if there are monsters in your meta. Pontifex Zenestra, who is the subject of some great debates. 5-inch move, 9 wounds, 5-up save with a 4-up ward. Add 1 to unbinding rolls, and you can unbind as if you were a wizard. We are a priest, though. We come with a 4-up ward save, which is great. And melee is nothing to write home about. What we're looking at is these prayers. You get a 3-up. You can choose one of the things on the Warscroll if you're outside of your territory. Yeah, outside your territory, pick 2 effects instead of 1. So we've got Hallowed Ground, the important one, which gives out a 5-up ward save for human units wholly within 18 inches of this model. We've got a larger, probably cavalry base, like what Fulminators were on. If you're thinking in an order mindset, that like a Baron Guard base, maybe. You can give 2 inches to the move characteristic of friendly human units on the battlefield, which can honestly be clutch to steal some objectives. Make sure you have more models on it. Set up some charges. Honestly, my favorite one is this Cast Out Evil. Like, the ward save is great. You always do the ward save first, right? But if you want damage, roll a dice for each enemy wizard or priest on the battlefield on a 2-up. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. This is really good. It's good enough. I'm almost thinking about allying her into my Stormcast army just to have this consistent damage. Yeah, because it's really nice. Not even allying her in. I play Stormkeep. I can just take her. We have Wrath of Vizier at the start of the combat phase. And after this unit fights, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 on a 2-up. They suffer D3 mortal wounds. The idea here is, if you'll excuse me. The idea here is that, let me make sure I'm not muted. We're good. If you know you're going to be in combat, you want to pop that off, you're going to pop this off, you potentially getting 2 D3 mortal wounds. You never want to have to do both of these, though, because at that point, you're probably losing the game, and you'd rather broadcast the 5-up ward save. Which, again, 4-up ward save built in on a 5-up armor save. She's going to feel like she has like 20-ish wounds if you roll average based on the armor save and the ward. Very, very good piece. Very scary piece. Should be hard to remove. Also, if you're donating a lot of your army's power to removing this, and then you're not getting rid of the units that do damage, you're gonna feel like you wasted your stuff. You're gonna feel like it was a bad trade. Flagellants here, the crazy, super religious fanatics of the old empire now to cities. They have a cool ability that's kind of glared out here. Each time a model in this unit is slain by a melee weapon, you can pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit, roll the dice. On a 5 up, they suffer a mortal wound. It's honestly really similar to the zombies from Soulblight Glaive Lords that we have access to here. They have a 2-inch range, which is nice. So they should be able to fight in at least 2 ranks. And if you can rally these on a 4 up and you come out with a unit of like 20 or maybe 30, there might be a way to reinforce them there. That's really nice. But they die to a stiff breeze of shooting. The Free Guild Marshal on Griffin, my beloved. 4 up armor save, which is rough. 15 wounds, which is nice. The old one I think was 13. We've got great profiles in the Lance and the Great Hammer and the Rune Sword. This is a great candidate for the artifact to give them an extra damage and rend. Because the Lance itself has a rule where you get +1 damage and add 1 to damage. The characteristic, add 1 to rend. So you could just stack that to be -3 rend, 4 damage on the charge. There's a way to make this Marshal on Griffin, which is the old Free Guild General on Griffin, do about 30 damage. Yeah, no. Love you as a beat stick. Wish you were a 3 up armor save. Again, once per battle, you can issue 2 orders instead of 1. Each order must be different. You can roar twice with this unit to 2 different enemies. Yeah, very solid piece. I wish it was a 3 up armor save. At the same time, you probably want to pop this, the 2 order things early so you can get the use out of this Griffin. And a good bracketing table. The claw attacks don't go down that fast. The Deadly Beak's damage is alright throughout. We have ways to heal in this army, which is nice from one of the spells. Heroic recovery, as always. I feel good about this as a very good fast melee beat stick. And we have the human keyword. So you can receive that 5 up word save if you roll the 3 up prayer and feel pretty good about it. Next we have the Free Guild Marshal on foot with Relic Envoy. The Envoy really acts more as a token where you can have it attend the Marshal and you can carry out a heroic action with this specifically, listed below. If you choose to stick it with a unit, you go within range of 12 inches, where they get basically a free command point. Once per battle, you can carry out the Deliver a Rousing Speech heroic action right here, where if you get it off, you have the models count as 2 instead of 1 for the purpose of contesting objectives, and pick up to 3 human units wholly within 18 of this unit. So big range. Gotta do a bravery check. And again, this could actually turn the tide of the battle if it was a rousing speech. We are not here for, well, we have a 3 up save and 5 wounds. We are not here for fighting with this hero. It can fight. You don't want it to have to fight. I might give mine the Warhammer just because it's a cool profile of -2 rend 3 damage if you get a swing through. You're probably better off with a sword. This is a 90-point hero, I believe, if I remember right, that is just there to give out orders and be survivable and give out free command points. Next, we have the Free Guild Cavalier Marshal, the guy on horse. 7 wounds, 10-inch move, which is nice, 3 up save, which is fantastic. Comes with a Dragoon pistol, the Masterforged Longsword profile, 4 attacks, 3s, -1 rend 2 damage. The horse is a horse. When you have Finest Hour on this model, you add 3 to your charge rolls for itself and friendly Cavalier units, which we'll get into, the new Knights. a whole within 12 here, which is great. Run down the foe. When you charge, you get the strike first effect on this model and a unit of Free Guild Cavaliers if they are within range. We can set up some dirty combos with this Cavalier Marshal, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, especially in the sub faction where the Cavaliers can do mortal wounds after they fight, and you can just do a lot of good, consistent damage between the two. This is a combo, it's a power pair, it's fantastic. The Alchemite Warforger here, the Tong Staff, it's a wizard. We're, 5 up save, 5 wounds. It's a wizard. We're not here for the damage profile. We're here for the ability. It's a 1 cast, 1 unbind. It knows transmutation of lead from the spell lore. You cannot choose other things, which is okay. But you're taking it because at the start of your hero phase, you can either give this unit +1 to casting, or give out a +1 to save aura, wholly within 12 inches of this unit, which you're going to have stuff within range because the spell is amazing, where it's called Blazing Weapon, goes off on a 7, doable in this world of primal dice, where you get to give off an aura, 12 inches again, where units that roll a hit roll of a 6 for an attack made by their weapon causes a mortal wound in addition to any damage it inflicts. This all of a sudden turns your basic infantry that have some decent number of attacks per model, and your fusiliers and your cavalry into murder machines for a beautiful war game. And you get a lot of value out of this. The thing is, it dies quick. It's still a 7 to cast. But even if worst comes to worst, you don't get the spell off, right? You have sub factions to give you another +1 to cast in the Lumineth city of Settler's Gain. You have Hallowheart to make sure you get the spell off on 3 dice, and you're also giving out an aura of worst comes to worst. You're giving out an aura of +1 to save. So, bring a couple of these. Have one do the +1 to save and one do the spell at +1 to cast at least. You're looking pretty good. And we have the hero keywords, the human keywords. You get the right keywords here for that ward save too. We have the stock standard battle mage from ages past. It used to be on the Warscroll that you would have a spell lore of like what realm they were from. Instead, now you have all these trinkets, which are honestly really kind of cool, and it kind of goes back to a fantasy where you used to be able to really customize your stuff by paying points for artifacts to your heroes, right? Well, now you can choose one of these, and you get +1 to casting, or a ward of a 5-up, or for some reason 2 extra attacks on your horrible profile, or add 6 inches to the range of spells cast by this unit, which is really freaking good. The Ritual Dagger, once per battle in your hero phase, you can give a mortal wound to yourself, and it can't be negated, but you can cast an extra spell. Or Spectral Potion here, which is on a 2-up. Pick an enemy unit within range of 12 inches. They take D3 mortal wounds as you toss a little hand grenade at them. 6-up armor save, 5 wounds, 5 movement because you're speed human. Battle mages have always been good. Never much to write home about. We're about 100 points, and again, Wild Form is now a lore spell. So now instead of having your customizable wizards be from the different realms, you're kind of freed up to do whatever paint job and build you want to customize them how you want them. And I feel good about this. I do. There's a nice example here. I was always a Bright Wizard fan back in the day, but my Wizard's going to be riding in style. But this is, we'll get to that later. This is a Battle Mage on Griffin, which is a 4-up save, which is good. It used to be like a 5-up. Griffin does good damage. Um, again, it's a 1 cast, 1 unbind wizard. It flies. Big base to give out auras from. The spell on its war scroll is Amber Spear to do damage. Because it is a kind of a Gur wizard, because it's on the Griffin, you have to take wild form. Okay. I'm really complaining. Um, the Griffin can probably fight itself out of some problems, but you do not want this to be a dedicated melee piece if you can avoid it. And got all the right keywords though. Cities of Sigmar human. That is nice. Then we have my ride of choice here, the Battle Mage on Hurricanum, or just the regular Hurricanum. The only difference is you get the Wizard Staff and a Wizard on top of it. Besides that, all the abilities are the same with Storm, Shemtech, and Importance of Battle. You have to take, if you have the Wizard, you'd be from the Lore of the Heavens, which means you have to take the spell Twin-Tailed Comet, which, if we remember, was like you hit an enemy unit in a line, but if the line passed over friendly units, they had a bravery of 10 because they go like, oh wow, cool comet in the sky. And if it hits the enemy, they can take damage. But if you're doing this for the wizard spell, you're probably going to do Chain Lightning, which is its Warscroll spell. A range of 18 inches, casts on a 6. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range. They take D3 mortal wounds, and then for all the enemy units within 6 inches of that unit you first hit, on a 4-up, they can take an extra D3 to the different units as it scatters around. The thing is, it is a hero. You can give commands from this bad boy. We've got a 4-up save. We are durable, while also being a piece you want to take anyway for the Hurricanum, which is in the hero phase, you can pick one enemy unit with a Storm Shemtech within 18 inches of this unit and roll the dice. Roll dice equal to the number battle round it is. This is just in the hero phase. For each roll of a 2-up, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So, battle round 2, I'm rolling 2 dice. Battle round 3, I'm rolling 3 dice. And it's just in the hero phase. It's my hero phase and yours. Eventually, this will add up. And you will do some serious damage to people if this is not handled. Also, we still give out the aura of +1 to hit for human units, just human units now, fully within 9 inches of any friendly units with this ability, which is great. It means it doesn't stack. It's just as long as you're in the range, you will be affected by it. And it did lose the +1 to casting aura for human units. And I'm okay with that, because you could just take that as an upgrade on your battle mage, and that's fine. I like the new Storm of Shemtech. I feel this is a very nice buffing piece that will be hard to move, and it gives out orders. And then, again, the other version of this, you still get the Storm of Shemtech, you still get the Importance of Battle for the +1 to hit aura. It just doesn't have the wizard on it, and it's a little bit cheaper. Alright. Then we have Battle Mage on Luminarch, and then normal Luminarch. So I used to call this spell on this war scroll the Evil Eye, because it's the burning gaze, where they look at you. Goes off on a 6, 18-inch range. If you get it off, pick an enemy unit, they take D3 mortal wounds. If they have 10 or more models, you double it. If they have 20 or more models, you triple whatever you rolled. So if you roll a 3, you're doing 9 mortal wounds. You have to know Foz Protection as your other spell. You're 1 cast, 1 unbind. Again, Foz Protection now is ignore modifiers to your save. You still have the cool Searing Beam of White Light shooting ability, which is you don't do the normal attack sequence. You just draw a line on the battlefield within range, which is 30 inches, and that you can see from the model. And then every unit you go over On a dice of a 2-up, they take D3 mortal wounds. This is how you can line up shots if you come in from a flank with this. Like if the enemy arm just ran up in the middle of the board, right, and you just like, cool, I can just pop out from the side from like Living Cities, because it still happens in the shooting phase. And I will go and just lightning beam, sun beam, whatever you want to call it, in a straight line, and just everything. Like, okay, cool, 2-up, got you, 2-up, got you, 2-up, got you. And if you can double turn with this, there's a chance you just kill their foot heroes. If you can get like 1 or 2 foot heroes over the course of a game, you will pay your points for this Luminarch. And that chip damage does add up over time if you can hit a few units. But it also can hurt your units. So be careful where you're drawing that line from. 4-up saved, 8-inch move again, still very good. 12 wounds. The other thing is the Luminarchs have the ability Aura of Protection for friendly Cities of Sigmar human units. You have a 6-up ward save on all the time. And this used to bracket, as same with the Hurricanum Aura ranges. Those used to bracket, they don't anymore as it gets hurt. It's just always on, wholly within 9 inches. You always get a 6-up ward save. So if you wanted maybe a little more damage, but slightly less of a ward, it's more expensive. We'll go over points later than the priest, but Luminarchs honestly are not bad. They are not the best thing in this book. They are not bad, and if you need the sniping power of this, and the always have a ward save power, again, it's not bad. Over time, because you will eventually fail some of those 3-ups on the prayer, I think that it'll eventually be comparable, and then it's just, can this do more mortal wounds between the spell and the shooting attacks? And do you value Faw's protection as a spell when it comes to this? Up next, we have a very cool unit of the Free Guild Command Corps. Corps. I say Corps myself. Um, it's a collection of basically heroes, though they're not heroes. It's just a unit where each model does a cool thing. Like, it can give a Free Guild Marshal they're attached to within 3 inches of a 4-up ward save to make them last longer to give out those orders and commands. You have a Sawbone Surgeon here, where at the end of your hero phase, pick up to 3 friendly human units, wholly within 12 of this, and you can heal them D3 wounds or return D3 wounds worth of models, if they're 1 wound models, to that unit. It has to be 3. Pick up to 3 friendly units. This will have to be an FAQ because for each unit, no, it's for each unit picked, because you don't have to do all 3, but each one only gets the D3 once. So you can't just be like 3D3 on 1 unit. So 3 different units get healed. So that's your, if you did Hollow Heart to get the cast off and you mortal wounded yourself with your wizard to do the 6s to hit do mortal wounds ability, this is how you heal that back. It's at the end of your hero phases. If you had a miscast, if you need to return units to your Fusiliers, if an endless spell hit them, this could be a way to heal back from that. If you have a wounded Griffin or Hurricanum or something, this is how you heal from that. You also have a Spy, which once per turn, when an enemy issues the command on a 4-up, you can make it like the command never happened, but they spent the command point. If you have, there's a guy in here that has a banner that's not pictured, that can add 1-2 run rolls and charge rolls for units that are whole within 12 of this, and have the Herald. And then you've got the Tune or the Corpus Somni. Not saying that right, but it's a made up word. This also has the totem keyword to give out 18-inch or like a range of command abilities. Where so this dude here with the flute and the necromancer looking guy, when you have units that fail battle shock and the model would flee, you roll a dice per model that would flee, and on a 4-up they don't. Um, this is great, and there's also an artifact for this where I would rather just take this unit and then give the artifact, um, take a different artifact and free myself up. Um, Also, there's a really cool knight with a great axe in here as well. The unit can do some decent damage. It's 3 wounds each, 4-up save, 5 inches of move. As models die, you can you choose which one dies and which buff you'll lose. Um, the little doggo gargoyle in here, and probably the bodyguard knight will be the first two to die. And you know what? If you roll a 3 on the wounds characteristic, you can bring one of these back. Got a third of a chance to do that. A 5 or 6 will do it on our D3. Very solid unit, and I think it's pointed appropriately because it does a lot of stuff, but it's expensive for what it does. Get into our battalion units here. The Free Guild Steel Helms, human move of 5 inches, 4-up save, 1 wound apiece, bravery 5. They're kind of cowards. Um, but at the end of the movement phase, they get a cool ability if they have a war priest in their number. Because it's 1 in every 10 models is can be a herald. One of the models in this unit is a priest. They all have the same weapon outload here of 2 attacks, 4-up, 4-up, no rend 1 damage. There's ways to change that and buff that, obviously. If they're on 25mm bases, they're fighting in 2 ranks. You'll be okay. That'll be 21 attacks for 10 of them. But their cool thing is at the end of your movement phase, if they're in range of an objective and still have their battle priest, on a 3-up, you can consecrate the ground there, and it gives Cities of Sigmar human units a 6-up ward save. One of the things with cities that used to be so hard was we would die to mortal wounds in droves, and our units have gotten kind of better armor. Like the Free Guild here, compared to what they used to be, um, only one of the units had a 4-up save. The other ones that could do either more damage, have more attacks, were a 5-up base save. So to make them tanky with this 6-up ward save is really good. And if you're going human heavy, again, it's still consecrated ground until you lose the objective. This is nice. If you don't get the 5-up ward save off, you have another way to try. And if you didn't bring the Luminarch, you have ways to keep your stuff alive. Also, each time this unit receives the all-out attack or all-out defense command ability, or you can pick another friendly unit that is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, and they get it for free. Which is really freaking cool. They can pass on commands. Next, we have the Cavaliers, which are an amazing offensive hammer unit to the anvil of the Steel Helms. 10-inch move, 2 wounds apiece. I wish it was 3, but that's okay. They're a 3-up armor save, good bravery. They have a standard bearer in there. On the charge, this unit gets to add 1 to the damage characteristic of their weapons, the Cavalier weapons, and 1 to the rend as well. The unit leader is an Arch Knight that has the -2 rend 2 damage natively. You'll probably see these in units of 5, maybe 10, maybe. And they are going to do a lot of damage. They're going to be great for receiving the command to countercharge. There's a command for the humans where when they charge the enemy and fight for the first time in the game, they get buffs, extra attacks, and I think extra rend as well. At least the extra attack. And they just become blenders. And again, pair this with the marshal that lets them have always strike first, and it will be a devastating charge. And you have the human keyword here to be able to get all the buffs and the ward saves. Next, what will probably be my second favorite unit after the Cav, the Free Guild Fusiliers, which are replacing the combination of my Free Guild Crossbowmen and Free Guild Handgunners. Because there was an argument in the old book over which unit you would take if you were going human heavy. So they combined the two profiles. We have here, you can see it says a fortified position or mobile, brace of pistols, which you just won't take, in my opinion, unless you're going more narrative, where the champion can have their gun have extra shots, their rifle, their fusel cannon, or they can take the pistols. Their standard bearer again adds +1 bravery. They have an ability called a squire, which is just an extra model. It is just a token. It is not actually part of the unit. You cannot use it to move block. You cannot use it to be on an objective and count as 11 models. It's just there to look cool. And what its point is, once per battle at the start of the shooting phase, your shooting phase in the third battle round or later, you can say it will resupply the unit with the black powder squire, where you can reroll your hit rolls for attacks made with these missile weapons until the end of the phase, which means you could fish for 6s to hit from the spell we talked about earlier. Also, each time this model shoots, if it is in a fortified position, you use the fortified position stat of a 24-inch shot, like the old crossbows. 2 attacks, 4s to hit, 4s to wound, neg run 1 damage. If you moved and you're not fortified, you're mobile, you have a shorter range, 1 shot each as you're kind of running around with your gun and your big old shield bouncing around on you. But we know this has the Castellite keyword here, and we have an order where we can move them, their 5 inches +3 for the order, to then stay fortified. So then our threat range goes from 24 inches if we stand still to 32 inches, and they become very deadly. And the other point of them being fortified is you ignore Ren from incoming missile weapons, so you just stay at a 4-up save, which is honestly really good. Again, this is just a lot of shots. There, you have your all-out attacks. You have a command ability to also make them have +1 to wound on one of the units of these. You have auras of +1 to hit if you don't want to spend the command points. You've got a sub-faction, Greywater, that lets you have multiple instances of all-out attack. These are going to be a bucket of shots, and the problem is going to be that 4-up to wound characteristic, where not everyone you're going to bring, if you're bringing multiple units, will get that +1 to wound. And either way, that might be the great equalizer, the 4-up to wound, but it's going to be so many shots. Because from a unit of 10, that's going to be 22 shots with the fusel cannon in a fortified position, probably 3s and 3s, -1 red, 1 damage. All of a sudden, you're going to be able to put a good hurting on something from, again, 32 inches away. If it's reinforced, you get more shots. And it's a very good unit that all of a sudden is durable compared to the old handgunner unit or crossbow unit that was a 6-up armor save. And you have the volume of the crossbow shots and the rend of the handgunners, as well as the good range there. So it's a great upgrade. Well, we have that Fusel Major on Ogre Warhawk. 8 wounds, 3-up save, real tanky. You've got a shield to be a fortified position. Rangefinder, start of your shooting phase, you can pick a friendly Castellite keyword unit. Hold within 12, you roll the dice, you can add that many inches to their range, which, again, isn't really a problem. The thing is, though, this crack shot ability. You got 3 shots with a Fusel long gun, 24-inch range, 3s and 3s, neg 1, d3 damage. Warhawk is okay in combat. I wish it had maybe another attack or two. But, neg 2 rend D3 damage is nothing to sneeze at, because we're not here to be a melee character. We're here to do this crack shot thing where if you roll a 6 to hit, you can say you've attempted a crack shot on that roll. And then you roll a dice at the end of while your attack sequence ends. For each crack shot, you roll the dice. And if you double the target unit's wound characteristic, pick one model from that unit to be slain. This allows you to kill units out of coherency. This allows you to kill unit champions that were issuing orders. That unit models that are like giving them pluses to charge or pluses to bravery. It is a very good ability, but you need to roll that 6 to hit. You've got 3 chances to do it each time. I mean, there's a world where I might actually would rather take the D3 damage, but you don't have to worry about an armor save. You can just say you did the crack shot, and again, if you roll a 2 or higher on a 1 wound infantry unit, and you can break their coherency, or on a 4-up, kill like a bow snake, and all of a sudden they're just not coherent, and half the unit has to flee to battle shock during the battle shock phase to come back into coherency. That is a very strong ability. Will it happen every time? Well, stats say 1 in 3 chance is really a 1 in 6 chance here. So we've got three attacks to do it. You're probably hitting a 5 or a 6, and that's the odds on like a D3 here. It'll probably happen once or twice a game, and it could be very pivotal, or it could be too late. But the threat of this is huge on its own. It'll change how your opponent can spread out their units to try to avoid being killed out of coherency, and can help give you board control. And if they don't do that, and you just get a lucky snipe and half their unit goes away, you're going to feel really good. And human keyword, right here. Also the ogre keyword, which is cool. Next, the beautiful great cannon, which model is just absolutely gorgeous. It is like a mini diorama. It has 3 profiles, 2 long range, 1 short range, where they the long ranges are 24 inches, which I wish was longer than the Fusel cannons, because they're about the same points as the Fusiliers. They're at 8 wounds and a 4-up save. The Fusiliers have the chance of just doing more damage, because the cannons here, it hits on a 4, wounds on a 2. You can have the regular cannonball, which is neg 2 rend, D3 plus 2 damage, or a piercing shell, which is negative 4 rend at D6 damage. Or, if the enemy gets up close and personal, you have the grape shot option, which is only 12 inches, but it's 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 1 rend, 2 damage a pop. So you're trying to max out here at 10 damage between the grape shot and the regular cannonball, or potentially 12 damage with the armor piercing shot, but it's a D6, so it's going to be really swingy. You're probably going to feel, if you somehow get both through, 7 damage. The cool thing is, too, you have the fortified position, where if you are fortified, you do not worry about rend from incoming shooting attacks. But also, you can just move this up 3 inches and not worry about your gun all of a sudden having to be a 12-inch shot. That's the beauty of this. And you can do the order and make it move 6 inches and stay fortified. There are pluses to this. Next, we have the Steam Tank Commander, where, again, it's a hero in a Steam Tank. A 2-up armor save is beautiful, 12 wounds, 8 inches of movement. You kept the more pressure ability, where you roll 2d6 and try to get less than the wounds allocated to the model. So, if you do that, if the roll is less than the number of wounds allocated, you take D3 mortal wounds. If it is equal to or greater than the number of wounds taken, pick a buff. So you don't have any wounds on you, you get to pick a buff. A one wound on you, you can at best roll a 2. Pick a buff, which is power the wheels of you can shoot and charge this turn if you want with this model. You could power the guns, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the guns, which are the cannon, the steam cannon, and the steam gun. You can also issue 2 commands in the same phase. They have to be received by a friendly steam tank keyworded model. No command point is spent for the second time you issue a command. So like 2 all-out attacks or 2 all-out defenses. That's great. Also, when you make a charge, roll a dice on a 2-up. The enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. Excuse me. And you can see the steam cannon profile. 24 inches. The steam gun is 12. We have a very good profile here where, again, giving it the extra attack, then all of a sudden this is the great cannon. It's more expensive points-wise. We'll go over that later. But being a 2-up save, being mobile, and having all of these freaking guns, and then, driving up close with the sword, or the crushing wheels doing 2 damage apiece. You can get a lot out of the Steam Tank Commander, or the regular Steam Tank, also known as a Stank. Again, same rules, same everything. There's no hero on top to give out orders or command abilities, or no commands in general. Still, again, good damage piece. Then we've got a new unit called the Wild Corpse Hunters, or Wild Core Hunters, where there's 11 of them. 4 of them are these dogs with the ferocious bite profile, and then 7 of them are crossbow. Well, 6 of them are crossbows, and 1 has a cannon that they're just carrying with them. Their cool abilities are they, after deployment, but before the first battle round begins, the unit can make a pre-game normal move. It cannot run. It's a 5-inch move. You may be going, why do I care? It's a screen. It can deploy on the line and either move back if you don't want them to move up, or potentially threaten an objective. Specifically, it could stop units from crashing in to say your Fusiliers will be within 6 inches to get their unleash hell off to screen these guys. Also, they have hidden and dangerous. The unit is not visible to enemies while it is in cover at all, or while it is more than 12 inches away from them, so it just can't be shot for free. In addition, if you are in cover with this unit, you get extra rend on your weapons. For your missile weapons specifically. So that is a Ren 3 Aura Blast cannon. 18-inch range on that in the crossbows. The cannon's a 3 and 3, 2 shots, neg 3 rend in that scenario, d3 damage. The crossbows are 4s and 4s, neg 1 rend to be neg 2 rend in the cover scenario, 1 damage. The hunting weapons are okay. This is just basic combat, just volume of shooting. That is nice. A pre-game move can mess with your opponents and make it so that you can take objectives easier. It can be a good screening unit. It's a little expensive to just throw away, but if they can take an objective and then get some of their shooting off, I'm not mad here. And the models look really cool. And it's also a Warcry unit, which is nice. Then we've got an Underworld Warband, Haskell Hexbane, who they themselves have a 5-up armor save, 5 wounds. It has a 5-up ward. They're big on killing monsters and heroes after deployment. Pick an enemy hero or monster. If there are any enemy wizards on the battlefield, one of those units must be picked as the target of the witch hunt, and you add 1 damage to your weapons that take out that target. Also, it has a cool ability with the Flamewood stakes here. At the end of the combat phase, pick 1 enemy unit within an inch of this model, roll a dice. Add 1 to the roll if it is death, demon, or wizards. On I believe, a 3-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Decent profile here. 2 with the pistols, shorter range. But then you go to the hunters that are with Hexbane. They also have a 5-up ward save. You do have a crossbow launcher. You've got some decent melee profiles and the stakes as well. That's okay. They're humans. They can do what they want. For me now, Galen Van Dents and Dorelia Van Dents, who've been around for a while, all of a sudden are really cool in a meta where people are bringing wizards, and demons are everywhere, where they double the damage characteristic of their weapons. Now, we've got a 4-up armor saving both of them, 5 wounds, 5 inches of movement. You're like, Rocco, what do I care? Well, Galen here has a pistol that has 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 1, 1 damage, and a sword that's 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, neg 1, 2 damage. And we double the damage. So his sword becomes damage 4. And while he is within 3 inches of his daughter, the strike first effect applies to this unit because he wants to protect her, and so he can get busy and fight. It's great. Dorelia, who I love and adore, has a 24-inch crossbow that starts off at 2 damage. So they kind of like, Galen's better at melee, she's better at shooting. Neg 2 rend, 2 damage, and then a nice sword that also has 2 damage. Lesser attacks. So she also has the 5-up ward, also has the double the damage. All of a sudden, the two of them fighting all the wizards and heroes you'd want them to fight, or units of wizards if you go into Lumineth Realm Lords, or it's the Evocators from Stormcast. They can do some serious damage here. Also, like, they can be anti-croak pretty well. Then we go into the dwarves here. We're done with the humans, as far as I remember. We get 3-up save, 6 wounds. I think I was saying 5 in the other video. Someone will hopefully have a comment on that. We have a cool ability here where this unit's picked to be your general. You can pick an enemy to grudge them. If you do so, unmodified hit rolls for duardin is a 6. The attack automatically wounds, which is neat. Fearless Leader is cool, where if a unit hasn't fought, they can fight after you go with this unit. You pair that up with Dwarven Infantry, you have a very good time. This is not really supposed to be a melee hero, but it can be. The Rune Lord, my former beloved, Ugni of Clan Weirdhammer. Love you, buddy. Dispossessed. Because you lost your +2 to Unbind and Dispel. For no reason. But you still get to try, as if you were a wizard. And your prayer is on a 4. The prayer lore is okay. If I'm taking a Rune Lord, it's for the prayer to... You roll like 3 wounds, they get messed up. I can look that up in a second. But yeah, movement 4, movement dwarf, 4-up armor save, 5 wounds. I just don't feel the love for this if you're not going duardin heavy. I'm not. I only own 1 dwarf, and that's Rune Lord, so he's gonna take a break, and that's okay. Longbeards kept their grumble ability, where they also get the instead of dispelling endless spells, giving an aura of +1 to wound, they instead have, I thought duardin were made of sterner stuff, where if you were gonna have a model that flees from battle shock on a 4-up, it doesn't flee. A nice way to have that for the non-humans among us. For dwarves and duardin, it's nice. They have a 4-up save if they have their great axe, or they can take an ancestral weapon and a shield to be a 3-up characteristic, which is good. Instead of just being +1, it's a 3-up base. They kept their musician for +1 to run rolls and charge rolls. The standard bearer makes their bravery 9 compared to the cowardly human steel helm of a bravery 5. Listen, they're going to be your line infantry that are going to be very tough. The -2 rend on the axe is great. If you go that way, if they can put in some work. Hammerers can put in work with Ren 2 in 2 damage as well. And at the start of the first battle round here, where they also, well, let me start off with, they probably have a misprint here, and that their command units, like the unit champion, the banner, and the musician that come with the unit, probably have rules that should be right here. That's an easy day one FAQ. But they have the ability Kingsguard, where at the start of the first battle round, pick one friendly Warden King on the battlefield. You're assigned to it. The Warden King has a 4-up ward while they're within 3 inches of this unit. And then you'll be pairing them with the Strike's first ability when the Warden King goes to be your power pair. This is a fantastic damage unit. 3s and 3s to hit and wound, -2 red, 2 damage, 2 attacks each. They're on 25mm bases, so they will fight in 2 ranks. So that will be at least 20 attacks. If unit champ probably gets an extra, you're 21. They're solid. They're solid for duardin. They really are. Um, Again, I don't know if I would build them myself because I'm going human heavy. But if you want to bring a Warden King and these guys, you're going to be solid. Iron Drakes have gone through it a little bit. Again, they've got standard profile dwarf. Their Grudge Bearer Torpedo and the Drake Gun, I believe, actually went down in range. It's still 3s and 3s, 3s to hit, 3s to wound. -2 Ren on the Torpedo, D3 damage. Um, Listen, if you can still add attacks to their attack characteristic of the melee weapons, if they are of missile weapons, if they are not within combat range of 3 inches of an enemy unit, and they did not make a move or setup. Because the old combo used to be you'd find a way to teleport them, or you'd bring them in through Living City Deep Strike, and they'd shoot, and they'd kill whatever. The Games Workshop destroyed that combo. This is you take 1 turn to move them up the board. So a unit of 20 of them will just have 20 attacks. And then if you get that double turn, then you turn on the gas with the extra stuff. The Grudge Hammer Torpedo is a damage 3 straight up if you attack a monster with it. So this actually can pay to split your shots. 18 inches on the torpedo is huge. For a dwarf, it's good for everybody, really. It's still a solid unit. It's not what it was, but this is what they really intended it to be. It's just the other combos just kept getting crazier and crazier, and you can see that this unit is now paying for it. This is a cool picture. And then finally, we have the Iron Breakers, which start off at a 3-up armor save. Again, unit champs can have these pistols. You can see it in a few things. You have Cinder Blast Bombs, do mortal wounds. Their whole thing is, if you give them the Shield Wall order, instead of it being a 5-up ward save, because that's the other thing too, right? One of the orders was, hey man, Shield Wall, you get a 5-up ward save, you become even more tanky. The Iron Breakers get that on a 4-up to be really nice. Again, line infantry. 2 attacks each, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, no ran, 1 damage. You're fighting in 2 ranks. Again, its volume of attacks to just be a solid unit. You have a Cogsmith now that pairs with the Gyrocopters and the Gyro Bombers, where you can issue commands to them wherever they are on the battlefield. The thing on its back is like a radio transceiver, I guess. However, dwarf magic works. You can choose to have a gun or an axe or both, but then you don't get a buff to them. Again, it's another hero to give out commands. It synergizes with... Oh, the model looks cool. It synergizes with the copters and the bomber. So if you have a dwarf fighter squadron escort for a bomber squadron, your steam gun isn't however many enemy models are in range of it. Now it's 2d6 shots at a 12-inch range, 3s and 3s, no red, 1 damage. This is the same steam gun on the steam tank. We are still highly mobile at 12 inches, 4 wounds, 3-up save. The unit champ because it's a single or it's a unit of three. Add one to the attack characteristic of your missile weapons. You could have a brimstone gun, which is slightly longer range, um, where it's three attacks, threes and threes, neg one, ren, d3 damage. You're actually surprisingly decent in melee. And the other thing that's crazy to me is still have the once per battle. You can do a bombing run, roll a dice. Each model in the unit. On a 2-up, the enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. You got the bomber that starts, it just has the clatter gun, 5 attacks, neg 1 ren, 2 damage, 3s and 3s to hit and wound. Um, and you have, every time you make a normal move, pick an enemy unit you passed over on a 2-up, you bomb. These come in singles. And a lot of people have steam guns, and this will still clear chaff units. This will still clear clan rats. It'll go for grots. You'll have volume of attack, especially if you do. So it'll be what? 66 shots, 6 breath, d6 shots. For a total of, I guess, 36 shots in a squadron of 3 if you rolled max shots. Eventually they're going to fill armor. Again, it's a volume unit, and they're still relatively cheap. And if you can, again, you've got 3 of these, and they all roll over an enemy hero with a normal move here. You can do 3d3 mortal wounds to an enemy hero. Then all of a sudden, there goes their crazy wizard doing blizzard. Yeah, I like it. And is it the human stuff? No, this is different. This is um if you want to play an Air Force build with dwarves, Air Force dwarf, you can get the feeling of that. I I would even slap some dwarf. Well, listen, if you have the old dwarven cannons, just put it on the appropriate base and you're there, right? You've got your Iron Weld great cannons. If you have the old quarrelers and thunderers, slap a shield in front of them, and they could fill in for the new human stuff. But the dwarf stuff on its own isn't bad. And it doesn't look like they're going away anytime soon either. Because they're so integral to the Cities of Sigmar. Again, they're good. Are they great? Time will tell. They're good. They're solid. Rock solid. They're dwarves. Come on now. Next, we have the Surviving Elves, which are the Darkling Covens and the Order Serpentis. We start off with a Sorceress on Black Dragon, who still, for some reason, has a 5-up armor save. Noxious Breath on the dragons got changed to be up to 10 attacks. You have a profile now up to hit and a wound. You're really here for the spell Blade Storm, which is still 9 dice for each roll that is less than the target's save characteristic. They take a mortal wound. It's not the longest. I believe it might be 18 actually. So that's a good range. If it's not and it's 14, it's a little meh. The unit can issue the same command up to 2 times. Not orders, commands. They're different. 2 Darkling units, no command point is spent the second time, so you get a free one. Has to be the Darkling Coven's units, or not all Dark Elves are built the same. Good bracketing. I was never a fan of the Sorceress on Black Dragon before. I'm still not. It's a 1 cast, 1 dispel. And I don't even think you could actually use it to sacrifice minions to get pluses to cast on this. I don't think it has that ability on it. Command Underlings, Noxious Breath, and Blade Storm. Yeah, no, it doesn't have that. Begone! Now we have the Sorceress on foot. A 6-up armor save. Witch Staff, again, nothing to write home about. It has the ability to blood sacrifice, stab a friendly Darkling Covenant unit, kill a model, get +2 to casting rolls. And then the spell Ward of Pain goes off on a 7. With the stabbing goes off on a 5. Enemy unit in range takes D3 mortals, and they're -1 to hit you. Fantastic spell. 1 cast, 1 unbind, pairs with the Black Guard right here. Just the foot one. Where if Steel and Sorcery, the Black Guard unit has a ward of 4-up if they're within 3 inches of any friendly sorceresses on foot units. In addition, the Sorceress also gets a ward save of a 4-up. And basically, you take the Phoenix Guard rules that they just squatted and make it a little bit harder to do, and here we are. 6-inch move as an elf, 4-up save, decent bravery. You've got a musician still and a bear to buff your unit. 2 attacks each, fighting in 3 ranks on 25mm basis with 2-inch range. So you can get 30 of them into something. 3s and 3s, -1 run 1 damage. An all-out attack here. To be 2s and 3s. And it'll be 61 attacks. You'll kill stuff with this unit. It'll be very hard to move. The thing you got to worry about is if your opponent can get around to the sorceress, or the 2 sorceresses you probably have here, because you might want more than one. And the other thing with this is you need to be careful you don't charge away from your sorceress and lose the ward save. Because the moment these guys go out, and gals, they're elves, so they're both fight. The moment they go out to die, the moment they go out to kill someone in a charge, they will die without that ward save. Next, you have Bleak Swords, where they're there to be stabbed. They're very cheap. 4-up save is really nice. 6-inch move, 1 wound each. Kept their command entourage there. 6 is to hit for them. Score 2 hits instead of 1. So again, volume of attacks. And we know the Elven spell lore. There's Tenumbral Blades, which make the enemy unit not have an armor save, which will be very helpful for all these units. Next, we have Executioners. 4-up base save, great. They get great profile. They got their old rule back, where unmodified hit rolls of 6 with their melee weapon do 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. If not, they are a 2 damage weapon, which is just honestly fantastic. Fighting in 2 ranks again with a 1-inch range. Executioners will put a hurt on you, and it's funny because humans gained a lot of models back with the revamp. They did not keep great swords. So if you want to run your great swords or the Wanderer's 2-handed rangers there as these, you're happy to do that. This is a great unit that has great rules. And you really like them. Again, they're elves, so they get the elf orders. And having them have always strike first, or after they fight, they get to just walk away with 6 inches. They'll get out of combat range with that retreat move to set them up for something else. Will be really, really good. Next, you have Dark Shards, the Dark Elf Crossbowman, the Dark Covenant's Crossbowman. If you have 10 or more models in the unit, +1 to hit. That's good. These are actually going to be good in Living City because they don't take any penalties to when they get set up with their shooting. They always have 2 attacks. 16-inch range is decent. You will be able to shoot whatever you want. It's just they won't have rend to do it with, so it'll just be massed crossbow bolts. Looking to find purchase. I used to use these to great effect before in an Anvil Guard army that I had back in second, but really back in the old book. where just masses of them do get the job done because death by 1,000 cuts, they can't always pass their armor saves, and if they're looking for threes, a third of their armor saves will fail, and when they're making 30 some odd saves, you'll put damage there. They're deceptively better than you think. Dread Spears, the real people to get sacrificed to the Covenants. Add one to hit rolls for attacks made by a targeted enemy unit that made a charge move. So if they charged into you, you get +1 to hit. Kind of like how Lumina Throne Lords get +1 to wound on their pikes if they attack a unit that charged them. They're cheap, 2-inch range. They fight in 3 ranks. It's volume, volume, volume. The Dread Spears, the Dark Shards, and the Bleak Swords. It's just volume. They're cheap. They fill a role. They're good screens. They're great to sacrifice to a sorceress for the buffs, to casting. The stars of the show are the Executioners and the Blackguard and the Foot Sorceress here. Life is good. Then we move on to the Dreadlord on Black Dragon, the melee beatstick here, where you can give them that command ability where if people miss you, when they attack with a melee weapon, they take a mortal wound for each attack roll they miss with. I think could be really powerful on the Dreadlord. The bracketing is okay. 14-inch move to start, 2 obnoxious breath to hit. You get 6 attacks with the sharp claws that do 2 damage. The jaws used to have like they wound on a 1. That's okay. The lance has a cool thing where you add 1 to the damage and 1 to the rend when you charge. 14 wounds on a 4-up save. It's comparable to the Griffin. You've got some options though. If you take a shield as one of them, you will always have a 6-up armor save no matter what, so you can't be outrended. The repeater crossbow, again, it's not much to write home about. I would rather do this as more of a melee focused thing. If you took the Venom Fang blades, the paired exile blades here, you get 6 attacks to try to proc the mortal wounds on, which is nice. You've got good damage here with 2 damage on the blades, on the lance base if you don't charge, D3 damage on the jaws, I believe 2 damage on the claws. And you have some options here. You also give an aura of reroll charging with this unit for Order Serpentis units as well. That's the chariots with the cold ones pulling them. That is the cold one knights, or Order Serpentis knights, whatever the name is. We'll find out in a second. Again, I think deceptively good with the tools you can put around here to say, hey, I'm going to go charge a bunch of zombies that should just rip me apart. And every miss is a dead zombie. I don't have a ward save. And I think that'll be okay. As long as you find stuff to trade out with here. And if they're going into something that was, say, -1 to hit me back, or if I gave the order of the Always Strikes First to the Dreadlord, yeah, I think we're doing good. And we built in some redundancy if I don't kill the thing. Again, the 4-up armor save's a little rough, but the fact that the Tyrant Shield means 6s to save, always save, that's nice. And the aura to reroll charge rolls for Order Serpentis stuff, if you've built into that, will feel really freaking good. You know? This also gets paired with the War Hydra for Order Serpentis, which it doesn't bracket anymore, which is an amazing improvement. 8-inch move, 12 wounds, 4-up save. Again, stock standard here. Low bravery. You have Fire Breath in up to 10 models. 2s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 run, 1 damage. Decent in melee here with the bite attack here, I believe being 3 damage and 1 damage on the buddies, the Cruel Whips and Goads. At the end of the combat phase, you heal. You can heal up to 3 wounds allocated to this model. You don't have to kill anything anymore to get that kind of a buff. It just happens, which is nice. So if someone tried to plink off wounds with shooting, you just become more and more annoying, and you are a decent monster. You can roar. You can support things. Your Order Serpentis, you benefit from this re-rolling charge aura. You know, Hydras as a cheap monster aren't bad. I don't think they're great. And I don't think we're breaking the game by bringing 4 of these. Or 3 of these and a dragon. But they're better than they were. Next is the Drakespawn Chariot. And then the Drakespawn Knights. That's what they are. Not called ones anymore. Drakespawn. 4-up armor save on a chariot's great. 6 wounds, 10-inch move. You get impact hits on this chariot. The repeated crossbow is just volume of shots. It's nothing to write home about. If this unit makes a charge move, select an enemy unit, roll 2 dice for each model in this chariot unit within 3 inches of the enemy unit. For a 2 to, if you roll a 2 to a 4, they suffer 1 mortal wound. On a 5-up, they take 3 mortal wounds. And if you are near a unit of friendly Drakespawn Knights, add 2 to the roll. So it goes from a 5-up to do 3 mortal wounds flat per chariot to a 3-up. And then all of a sudden, these start looking really freaking good. Which is cool. They have a place. It's mortal wounds. It's impact hits. It makes sense. They're shock troops. Along with a great unit of cavalry on a 3-up armor save, 2 wounds each, 10 inches of movement on the Drakespawn Knights to keep up with them. Where they have 2 attacks on the lance, which, if I remember right, they only had 1 before. They have the lance charge rules, add 1 to damage and add an extra rend. On the charge, they actually can hurt. They still wound on a 4-up. And the mount has rend. It hits on a 3. It's probably the best mount that isn't a monster in the army. We still have the +1 to run and charge rolls with this unit. Having units of this in, say, Misthaven, gonna be good. These are good units to pin something in place with. They support the unit of 3 chariots you're throwing into someone. And again, the elf order of one of the units gets always strikes first. If you have multiple heroes to just give that order out, yeah, you're looking good. Then you have Dark Riders, which are Shadow Blades, the only surviving Shadow Blade unit. 4-up armor save. They have crossbows, no rend, but they come in units of 5, so it'll be 15 shots. They've got spears. They're okay. This unit can retreat and still shoot and or charge. In addition, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if it made a retreat move in the same turn. So they're just your hit and run cav that you probably would have taken in Tempest Eye if they didn't already have the rule for hit and run. And roll a dice each time an enemy unit issues the command within 12 inches. Then with friendly units with this ability. On a 5-up, the command is not received at all. It counts as them having spent the command point. So if you don't want the Spy Master because you're doing elves, Dark Riders can do the same job. They're forward screens with a 14-inch move, 2 wounds, 4-up save. All of a sudden, Dark Riders have a purpose in this army, and I'm kind of concerned. I'm going to say Dark Riders are actually an okay unit. They have a really good role here. I guess there's another Shadow Blade in the Assassin. Pops out of only Elven units now. Strike First is on there if this unit made a charge move. You pop out... When do you pop out? you still have the deadly poisons where um, 6s to wound, you do 3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. Not your 6 attacks at 1 damage. While this unit is within 3 inches of a friendly elven unit, as 3 or more models, this unit is not visible. Okay, so you don't actually pop out per se, but you are hidden if you're more than 12 inches away. Okay. So you can't be picked out for like spells because you're not visible. And you can give out orders to your elves with the assassin to do whatever you want. 5 wounds, 5 up save, 6 inches of movement. Yeah, I see it. I really do. Having extra heroes, let's consider them officers in an army, giving out the orders, and then command abilities and such that can't be attacked by magic to pluck them out, as well as with the new look out sir rules that they can't just be shot. I dig it. Then we have the Blackguard Fleet Masters that are looking really good with the Scourge Privateers here. If an unmodified hit roll for this hero with melee weapon, um, sorry, for melee weapons that target this hero are 1, the attacking unit suffers 2 mortal wounds after all the attacks have been resolved. So this comes with that command trait, just base rule. So we have a 6-inch move because we're an elf. Elven profile, 4 up save, 5 wounds. They combine the Wicked Cutlass and Murder Hook to be, I believe it's 3 attacks. 3s and 3s, neg 1 rend, 2 damage. Have the rule at the Mucur when you issue all out attacks to Scourge Privateer unit, add 1 to the attacks characteristic as well as the +1 to hit. That's amazing. Because it's when you issue all out attack, that could be extra attacks on the repeater handbows, which again, volume. Black Orc Corsairs are volume. If you do the paired blades or the repeater handbow and a blade, volume, volume, volume. They're 25 millimeter bases. They will fight in 2 ranks. I have to talk about these both at the same time because they are just that good. Again, if you give... So, in Anvil Guard, old book, there was a spell called Vitriolic Spray. You put it onto an enemy unit. It was like a 10 to cast. Remove their armor save. You can just put that on an elven unit of your choice and then send them at the enemy. You get the save characteristic of Dash, which is functionally a 7-up save. That the thing is with this, and a 7-up just can't happen. With this, volume of attacks, if you give them +1 to hit and 4 attacks each, that's 80 attacks for 20 models. 81 because the champion. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, no Ren 1 damage, but you don't care about Ren because it just cuts right through anyways if they didn't have an armor save. And also, unmodified hit rolls for melee weapons that target this unit of 1, they take a mortal wound back. All of a sudden, Blackguard Corsairs, which are very cheap still, have become an amazing melee screen where even if they die, they're probably taking some models down with them between Mortal Wound Reflection here and their bucket of attacks they're throwing back at people. And if you're just the one guy in Australia who love him, I'm gonna forget his name right now because I'm talking about him. Where he has a YouTube channel too. It's gonna come back and get me. Where he's known worldwide for being like one of the only Blackguard Corsair players. Dude is gonna be so excited with all of this because this unit is very good. It's very aggressively pointed for what it does. They lost their ability against shooting to be +1 to save against shooting. They're elves. They're gonna die to a stiff breeze. They will. They will take a bunch of stuff out with them though, which is why I'm like, well, the command trait for the elves to be, misses. I'll do a mortal wound back. I don't think that would stack with this rule. Um, but if it did, and you roll a bunch of ones and you do 3 mortal wounds back, that'd be really cool. I still think you put it on a dragon. You have a bunch of these, screening out your executioners, and you have a bunch of crossbows just to, or these, for just volume, while you also do a bunch of mortal wounds, will be a nasty combo. And also the Scorch Runner chariots, again, make a return, 12-inch move because they're a lighter chariot variant, 5-up save because they're a lighter chariot. This is the shooting one. They have Ravager harpoons, which I've loved for forever. They're D3 damage, neg 2 rend. It used to be you could get mortal wounds off of them, but they got rid of that rule. So now it's a straight 3 damage for when they attack an enemy monster. Everyone and their grandmother is bringing a hero on a monster these days. So they've got great shooting for that at 18 inches. With a 12-inch move, that is a 30-inch threat range. Will hit anything on the board. You take them in a unit of 3, the leader gets an extra attack on your missile weapons. And again, 3 repeater crossbows will eventually add up to damage, but you're really here for the Ravager harpoons. And they're okay in combat. It's about volume and the rend on the harpoons in the mage, because you fire both. And they are mobile gun platforms that are wound dense, have big bases, and can take up a lot of space and let you decide combats. Then finally, Cal the Charybdis. If you've known me from before my YouTube channel, when I would do teaching games for people over Tabletop Simulator, I would bring a Charybdis. Let's see what they did to my boy Cal here. Alright. 8-inch move, 12 wound, 4-up save, 10 bravery, mirroring the Hydra. No shooting attacks, because Cal is an honest fighter. They have Fanged Tentacles for 5 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 wound, neg 1 red, 3 damage. Spiked Tail, which is D6 attacks for no red 1 damage. And the Cruel Goes and Whips of the elves attending Cal. We lost the healing from when you killed models in combat, but we don't bracket, and we have the Abyssal Howl ability, where enemy units cannot receive the Rally and Inspiring Presence command abilities while they are within 12 inches of this unit. Cal is on a very big base, and all of a sudden is a threat, right? Hear me out. You can't rally when everyone and their grandmother has some new rule where you can rally on a 4-up or a 5-up or whatever Daughters of Cain do these days. We have anti-Daughters of Cain tech. We have the privateers here. They're not pirates. They're legal pirates. Privateers. Scourge privateers. Up here, the Blackhawk Corsairs here that dish out mortal wounds. He dishes out mortal wounds. Volumes of shooting. Having a couple Charybdis in your army to deny Inspiring Presence to Battle Shocks Matter and stopping Rally, especially on undead armies, where they have recursion, or even on armies where, like, there are games like with my Deepkin where I had one of my archers stay alive because I could Inspiring Presence it, and then I rallied back on 19 dice. I rallied back like 7 of them, and then that unit can do damage again. Cal the Charybdis, for some reason, has play, and I'm scared of a world that Cal the Charybdis has play. let's double check the points and see what's up. Yeah, we have here the cannon is 150. Bleak swords are 100. Dread spears are 90. Free guild steel helms here are 100 for the new human infantry with the ward. Dread spears are again great to be sacrificed still and be screens. Bleak swords are good screens at 100. They do volume of attacks. Iron breakers are 130. Longbeards are 130. That's okay. Hurricanum is 230, which is cheaper than it was. Cal the Charybdis is, I believe, 180, maybe 160 points. I don't have the actual book in front. Remember, this is a league. Luminarch base with no wizard on it is 220. Stank, that can be battle line, with a Stank commander is 230. A War Hydra is 180, which means Cal is 160 because that 8 looks different than that 6. Cal is looking like he's worth it. The Alchemite Warforger giving out the aura for humans to 6 hit do mortal wounds. To go up with all the elves doing their mortal wounds. Is 90 points, but it dies quick. Probably will go up in points eventually, but it dies quick. The Assassin is 90 points, which is nice. Battle Mage for a human is 100. It's okay. Blackheart Fleet Master is 90. The Cogsmith is 90. They kind of stayed similar points to what their old stuff was. Same with the Battle Mage. The Van Densts, Dorelia, and Galen now come as a pair, even though they are single, unique models that are taken as a set. They are each a separate unit. Each of them is a separate drop in your army. They are combined 160. So, really, it's you're paying a few more points to get a free Galen when you were already taking Dorelia. It's functionally a free Galen at the end of the day. Your Field Marshal on foot with the Relic Envoy is 90 points to be a very nice cheap leader. The Cavalier Marshal is 120. The Fusilier Major on Warhulk is 150. That's a little high for me for fish for sixes to hit, but what do I know? Hexbane's Hunters from Underworlds is 180. I think that is a lot. The Pontifex Sinestra, Matriarch of Great Wheel, the priest that does the 5-up word save for the humans, is 150 points. There is no way this model is staying at 150 points unless, like, Cities gets bodied by a bunch of factions. Cities currently is at, like, competitively from looking at stuff like the Honest Wargamer and Games Workshop's own metrics in like the 30s for a win rate, maybe the low 40s. Um, if this book comes out as hot and heavy as everyone thinks it is, there's no way the Pontifex Sinestra stays at 150. It probably goes to 180. And you can only buy one anyway, it's single and unique, so it's not like you're rushing out to buy a bunch of these. I think she's, even just for the damage, is still good as an ally. I think her word spell, or her word prayer, rather, will help a lot. A Rune Lord is 100, which is a crime, considering you took away its whole purpose of being +2 to unbind and dispel. Sorceress at 100 actually, I believe, went up from 90. The Warden King at 110. Again, these are good for what they do. Battle Mage on Hurricane was 260. At its highest, I think it was like 280. So, because it lost rules, I think it's still good. Battle Mage on Griffin is 250. I think that is too high. Battle Mage on Luminarch is 250, which is good. Dreadlord on Black Dragon is 280, which is, maybe they're seeing what I'm seeing in those combos. Give it the trait for, if you miss me, you take mortal wounds, and give me the Venom Fang Blade, and I'm going to murder you. The Freeguild Marshal on Griffin at 270 feels right. Sorceress at 270, get out of here. The thing's going to die the moment someone looks at it. Steam Take Commander at 270 is good. The new named character, uh, Talia Vedra Linus the Parch, at 340 feels like a lot. But if you can, so here's the reason why I'm saying things feel like a lot or not is throughout the course of a game, are they going to earn their points back? What does each one of these things have to do to earn their points back? Like the Alchemite Warforger has to buff a unit enough with the +1 to save, where it feels like you saved an extra 90 points of your army because then the models are alive to kill more stuff, or it gives out the mortal wound buff so that your stuff kills an extra like 90 points of units to earn its points back. That is easily enough achievable. Excuse me. Dorelli and Galen, all they have to do is kill another enemy leader. A wizard like Gobspark, who's like 200 some odd points, maybe 240, and Cruel Boys. Shoot him and his stupid bird dead. They will earn their points back and then some. Thalia here, to earn back 340 points, you've got to rally probably 100 points of your models and still kill the other remaining 240 points of something. So it's like a unit of Blood Knights plus something, or kill a unit of Grave Guard, kill 3 pigs and rally a bunch of flagellants. Maybe. Blackguard Corsairs, at 90 points for 10 of them, yeah, they're fine. Again, volume will win the day. They're battle line if you have the Fleet Master there. Again, these are all from Bleak Swords to Longbeards. Those are unconditional battle line. Ironbreakers are unconditional battle line. That's great. Cities used to have a lot more. It felt like they're gone now and condensed. You have a lot of leaders that are taking up a lot of points in your list because you want probably 4 leaders in a list to give out all the orders you need to give out, as well as all the command abilities and do all the spells and things and the buffs. Behemoths, we have a lot. Watch your cap for that. Blackguard at, I believe, 140. Dark Riders at 150 to interrupt command abilities. Again, it was only an edition ago. We had Games Workshop list a command point was worth 50 points. If you can intercept a couple commands and shoot something dead, you've earned your points back. Blackguard will easily earn their points back. I'm glad they're not pointed at 170 like Phoenix Guard were, because their ward save is very conditional, that the Sorceress is alive. Dark Shards being 120. They have a condition on how they become battle line. I think that's a little high, but that's okay. Drakespawn Chariots, again, this is where the leak gets kind of bad. You have a single model that I believe is like 80 points, maybe 90, and then the full thing of 270. So at 90 points and 270 for a unit of 3, or unit of 1 is 90. Impact hits are great. They have ways to become battle line. No, they don't. It's the note if it's either a 1 or a 3. Same thing with the other chariot and the gyrocopters. Flagellants, they are battle line if the army includes the priestess, the pontifex. Order Serpentis General makes Drakespawn Knights battle line. And at 140, they're good prices. We have a lot of good priced units. The Fusiliers are 150. The Cavaliers are 180. The Bombers 120. Hammers are 130. Iron Drakes are 160, which is a little high, but whatever. Scourge Runner Chariots are 80 for 1 or 240 for 3. Wild Corpse for the pregame move. You can't see me outside of 12 inches. An extra rend is 140. Shadow Warriors who filled kind of the same role were like around 100 to 120 depending on the edition. Um, I'm okay with that. Allies, it seems to be every freaking thing in order. Sylvaneth can be allied into everything except Greywater Fastness. They kept that part in the lore. Um, that's neat. And there are cities, again, like Settlers Gate has a thing if you bring a Lumineth. Caradron synergize with Tempest Eye. The fact that they're allies and not coalition allies is rough for this book. Um, I think that going up to a better page here. Cities is going to be a very good book, and it's going to be up to you with your list building prowess on how to get the most out of this. And at first glance, which we shouldn't always trust, but at first glance, the heroes of this book, the leaders that are going to be getting you through, are going to be the humans. They are the clear winners. The elves have a lot more play than you think they do. The dwarves probably got their iron drakes nerfed a little too much to be that functional. I think having an army of just humans is gonna, or just elves, or just dwarves is gonna be viable. I don't know that having a lot of mixed arms is gonna make sense. Because like with the marshals, like marshal on horse, I want to bring cavalry. If I bring a reinforced unit, that's gonna be like 360 points for 10 models, and then the marshal is gonna be 120. All of a sudden, that's almost 500 points. That's a quarter of my army almost. And if I bring a bunch of foot heroes, each one being about 100 points, that's 400 points in my army. You can see where we're gonna have to play with list building on this one for a little bit. And the cannon being the same points cost as the Fusiliers, I it being the same range as the Fusiliers is what really gets me. If it was a longer range on the cannon or cheaper, which it'll eventually be cheaper. Until then, I gotta say the edge goes out to the Fusiliers. I do. I do. But having like a couple cannons in your backfield guarding a Hurricanum, so they're hitting on threes, wounding on twos, doing neg 4 Ren d6 damage is very, very tempting. I mean, then you don't need to take them in Greywater. Or if you have a lot of -1 to hit in your local meta, take them in Greywater. And they'll have the +1 to hit from the Hurricanum, +1 to hit from the command ability there. Greywater, hello. And then you just feel great that because again, their -1 doesn't fully cancel out your +2 and you're still hitting on threes. With that, thank you for coming, everybody. This is our part 2. Love Cal. Yeah, turning off Rally and Inspiring Presence in a 12-inch bubble on that big base is going to be really nice. And hopefully I stayed in frame with my camera because I've been having some issues. Thank you all for coming. Be nice, roll some dice, and I will see you next time. Bye.